Yes.
Nice. So nobody's making a documentary about Robert Rose then?
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. I might sell more than one ticket though.
Hello and welcome to the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast, a proud member of the Marketing Podcast Network. Hope you're well and staying as sane as you feel you need to be. It's Saturday, the 31st of January. I'm your host, Ian Truscott. I'm not a rock star, but I am a full-time B2B CMO and now managing partner of Velocity B. And on this weekly show, with the help of my marketing chums, we share the marketing street knowledge to inspire your inner rockstar CMO. This week, Dennis Shiao returns to the show to celebrate 10 years of the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup that he founded, which has turned into an international virtual event, before I join Robert Rose in our virtual bar for a cocktail and a question that is top of mind for me. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this word.
We'll be right back.
After this word. We'll be right back.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, Dennis, to Rockstar CMO FM. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, absolutely, mate. And I think it's the 5th time you've been on. So I'm not going to make you introduce yourself yet again, but regular listeners will remember you as the founder of the, well, I think it's wonderfully named US content marketing agency, Attention Retention. And I want to point out that you didn't just come up with that, with us all a buzz about attention the last couple of years. You actually came up with that back in 2018. You're also a regular top contributor and sort of all-round community chap at the Content Marketing Institute. And you've got a newsletter called Content Corner. But the reason why I'm having you on today is you are also the co-founder of the Bay Area Content Meetup, which had its 10-year anniversary at the end of 2025. So congratulations, mate.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So let's start with, of all these irons that you've got in this particular content fire, right? Let's start with the Bay Area Content Meetup, which isn't really a Bay Area thing anymore, is it? You now serve more than the Bay Area. Especially, right. I think last time we chatted, you were telling me that COVID was really the trigger for this, but you've become an international event. You've got over 4,000 members. Tell us about that audience.
The audience. So the brief history of the meetup will help explain the audience. So
that might have been a better way for me to start. I just dive straight in. Go on then.
So it all started back in 2015 when I was working a full-time job and I was inspired to get people together. I just wanted to bring marketers together. I'm in an area between San Francisco and San Jose, so two fairly large cities to the north and south, and I'm in the middle. I was in a city called San Mateo. And I was going to a lot of events in those two cities, San Francisco, San Jose, but there was none that I knew of in where I lived. So it was a short drive or train to get to those cities, but I just wanted to have something nearby so I could just stay close to home. Yeah. And I was working in the same city, San Mateo, that I lived, and I asked my employer if I could use our office space after hours, and they said yes. So it started out once a month. I would find a local marketing expert. We'd get a projector in the large conference room in my employer's office, and the expert would give a talk. I'd order pizza, and we did this from 2015 until 2020 is when the pandemic came. At that point, so I think we were under 1,000 members then, and we already had a schedule during the spring months of 2020. So we just shifted those presenters to Zoom. And we started doing all of our talks online. And during the pandemic, a lot of us who are not essential workers were just holed up in our home or apartment, wherever we were. And we had plenty of time to be online and to consume online content. And then this network of presenters who I could draw from globally we're almost all available because what else are you going to be doing? Appear on a podcast or appear on Zoom. And at that point in 2020, I think we were averaging one a week. So we're doing about 4 Zooms per month. And because of meetup.com, the platform, I think a lot of people during the pandemic were going there and finding Meetup made a feature change where you could say this is actually online versus like the location. So we were now being discovered from people throughout the world looking for marketing presentations. And we really grew the membership. We were on Zoom at noon Pacific, but we were getting people in Europe, Western Europe, that I think at that time was like 8 p.m. or so.
Exactly.
And then we were getting people from India who must have been like in the middle of the night, but they decided to check out the Zoom. So a lot of the growth up to our 4,000 plus members is through the pandemic. And the membership started with marketers at companies in the Bay Area originally, but it's now grown. I think it's been quite enjoyable to see the breadth of members. So you have, on the one side, you have small company marketers at small companies or even solopreneurs and freelancers. So they're individual, they're solopreneurs. Up to mid-sized companies. That we do have some marketers at enterprise companies. And then we also have adjacent functions like designers, UI, UX, maybe some product managers. And then what I've been really heartened to see is that we have non-marketers. So we have like financial investors or entrepreneurs or people that are curious or trying to learn a little bit about marketing. So they see a topic and they want to learn more. So it's really neat just that we're opening up the discipline of marketing to people who are outside of marketing but need to learn more either as a curiosity or they might be an entrepreneur and they need to start by being marketing themselves in the beginning.
Oh, it's really interesting. And how many people were around the table that first time?
How many people were on the table the first time? Yeah. So the very first meetup was September 2015. Another fun fact is that today we're called the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup, which I think is a great name because it's a well-known discipline and Bay Area is like you associate with Silicon Valley and innovation. The original name was the San Mateo B2B Bloggers Meetup.
Wow.
So you really couldn't get more niche.
No.
And I often joke that I was the only B2B blogger in San Mateo at the time. So the very first meetup, we met at a restaurant and the title was, let's discuss our B2B blogging experiences. And 2 other people showed up. So we had 3 people.
Nice.
And I actually knew both of them. So it was like they showed up almost as in to support me because they heard I'm launching a meetup. So we had humble beginnings.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I wanted to find out the number. I don't think we've ever had that conversation before because I think 4,000 is pretty bloody good, isn't it? When you started so small. Yes. But also, it's always felt to me like that kind of basic motivation and roots of what you're doing has never really changed. It's just it has a universal appeal, and now you're on Zoom. Right. It's universally accessible, right?
That's right.
People are really interested in content marketing. Yeah. And one of the things we talk about on the show is we talk a lot about the fundamentals, and you've been running this thing for 10 years, right? So when we talk about the fundamentals, we talk about the underlying strategies that will stand the test of time despite all the changing trends and channels. And we know what all those are, right? So over 10 years of running the meetup, have you seen some core topics that the community keeps coming back to, your speakers keep coming back to, and there's a curiosity about still?
I think it's interesting. I can't think off the top of my head. There's like some core thing that everything returns to. I think the nature of this meetup is that we adapt to the shifting winds of marketing. As things emerge, and the obvious one is AI. So obviously back in 2020, there was nothing on AI. It was not until ChatGPT was launched in 2022 that and we actually quickly had, I think, ChatGPT launched fourth quarter of 2022, and we had our first AI talk because there's some of our members were bleeding edge into AI at the time. They were jumped feet first. I think before the end of the year, we had, or maybe January of 2023, we had our first talk from an AI expert on like how to use ChatGPT and other tools at the time. So I think we adapt to what's changing, and there's a little bit less of a focus on like some of the core fundamentals of marketing.
Right. I was just wondering if it's sort of comes, because a lot of conversations I have, it always with clients and stuff, it kind of comes back to some very standard things that people need to get figured out. And I just wonder if there was still a curiosity. Of course, your community are a knowledgeable content marketing community. So they're not going to come to an event like that to understand the fundamentals. But I thought that if you were getting more of a diverse range of folks, I wondered if there was any sort of things you saw coming up which kind of surprised you. Say, oh, people are still interested in this, or is it? It sounds like you're just staying on the bleeding edge with each of your events.
I think so. I think there is definitely value in coming back to the fundamentals. I don't want to say this in a negative way, but we kind of we are attracted by the bright shiny objects. So if there's like something emerging, often I know of folks that are exploring that area, and then I would say, do you want to give a talk to the group? And then the group is obviously interested because it's the latest thing that they think they might need to be educated on.
Yeah, completely understand. Is it like the the editorial, if you could call it that we have for this show, right? Is that we're obviously we're also impacted by trends and influenced by trends. Right. But one of the things, I mean, you mentioned AI there. I mean, because you preempted my next question, which was I was going to ask you what's hot, right? And it's clearly AI. Yeah. At the moment, I mean, we've, as you say, you've been discussing it in your group for 2 years. Is there the challenge right now to it's another meetup about AI, and you find other topics, or is there still plenty in there that you're finding is really interesting?
I think with what I've seen with AI, and I would put myself in the camp of the middling, or I'm not leading edge. I'm a follower. I follow the pioneers and what they're doing. So I'm kind of know that I need to stay updated, but I'm kind of in that middle where I actually still have some questions about AI in general. So I think comes a point in AI where the same type of things that we talked about a few years ago are now getting stale. So it's another one on, here's a good one. Like, even though there's still a lot to be learned and there's still a lot changing on how to write your prompts, like I would consider a prompting Zoom talk on AI prompting, I would say that's kind of done. It's been done. So it's unless you have a certain specific angle that's brand new or unexpected, then people will probably write that off and there won't be interest. Another area that I think is still emerging but relevant is people call it different things, but AEO, or basically the SEO for AI. I think that's still very big. There's changes happening. People are discovering new ways to do it. So I think that we've had a couple of those, and that is still sought after, because I think people that were on board with SEO are still figuring out AEO. Some are late to the game. And so as we do those, people are very interested in trying to figure out, how can I help my site?
Yeah, I mean, we're not here to talk about AEO and GEO, but that's a fascinating topic. I mean, I've had Thomas PM, who's the co-founder of Otterly, which is a startup that's looking at this very GEO optimization thing. And I've also spoken to people who are like, nah, this is bullshit. It's just SEO with a different name, So there's still, the jury seems to be out on what it is marketers need to really focus on with that whole thing. So I can imagine that's a rich vein for a meetup like yours of this is where the questions are at right now, right? So and actually you've talked me into the idea that I shouldn't have asked you about the fundamentals, because why would you have a meetup who's going to attend that, right? They can see that on a YouTube video. You might as well be talking about the cool new stuff. So that's good.
I mean, the fundamentals are still very important. So maybe like if we put a title out there for the next event is on a fundamental, I think the group today might be less interested. But the example I would use is Robert Rose at CMI. He's very often, and I know he's coming on, so say hi to him at the bar. But I know a lot of his angles at CMI lately in his weekly column is a return to the fundamentals with AI here. And I think a lot.
exactly.
I commend Robert, and I often listen to what he's saying. It's like, remember like these certain things that we often forget about, and that he's often pointing to fundamentals. So I think that's an example where that's one of his main, in my mind, that's one of his main teachings these days, is like, let's return to the fundamentals and focus on them first before we talk about AI.
Yeah, which is why, when I talk to Robert, I tend to not always know what we're going to talk about. So, and he kind of guides the conversation, and you quite often, it will be on his latest research. And as you say, I think he's running a series at the moment on Content Marketing Institute about AI, and often that refers to the fundamentals. You're quite right. But also, you just mentioned there that you have guest speakers. And you've had many over the 10 years. So, and I won't ask you to pick a favorite, because that'd be like picking a favorite child. But what have been some of the highlights for you in terms of some of the speakers you've had at the event?
I will point to two highlights, and they were both in-person visits. So it wasn't the Zoom. The first was our local congresswoman in the U.S. House, Jackie Spear. So the story there is that the meetup was taking place in San Mateo, and the congresswoman for that district, her local office, not the DC office, but she was in the same building as my employer, which I thought was a funny coincidence. So and this was 2018, and I just emailed her office, because I said, I'm in your same building. Would the congresswoman be interested in coming to talk to a group of marketers? And they were open to it. It was that. So 2018, Twitter was still very ascendant, and in my opinion, more relevant than today. And I wanted the congresswoman to speak about her views on how consumers can navigate the world of social media. Long story short, there was some back and forth. There was like what happens here in the U.S. a lot is the government shuts down. So I think they were in a shutdown, and so we had to prolong the scheduling. And I forgot why, but for some reason we decided not to do the focus on social media, and so we ended up having just a straight Q&A, and it turned into I gave it the premise that this would be a marketing talk, but it was essentially and then we also moved it from that building where her office and my office was to I found a local community center in my neighborhood. So it ended up just being a visit from the local congresswoman to my meetup group, but I also invited all of my local community.
Wow.
So it's really just a Q&A with the congresswoman, but it was fascinating. There was in 2018, there was a lot of drama between our president at the time, who is now the president again, and online taunts with North Korea. So I think everyone was freaked out at the time that we might be going headed towards nuclear war. So some of the questions were about the geopolitical environment, but that was amazing just to have our local congresswoman visit our meetup. Second one was where the Bay Area Content Marketing. So we had the godfather of content marketing, Joe Pulizzi, came to visit in person. I had spoken to him at Content Marketing World, and I said, I'd love to have you come visit us. And he said, let's make it happen. We found a local sponsor who helped subsidize the visit. So Joe and his wife Pam came to San Mateo. The date is a little amazing. It was something like March 3rd of 2020. So it was the week before California had its shelter-in-place order. So we got Joe to come to an outdoor space where we still hold our meetups today in San Mateo. And he did a Q&A to an audience. And at the time, he had just published his Will to Die murder mystery book. So we gave out some copies of that. And that was amazing to have Joe visit us.
I'm not surprised. That's perfect, isn't it? And I think we're all still waiting for Will to Die 2 or his next book. I think. And I think he's going to have more time on his hands, doesn't he? I mean, I assume you still listen to This Old Marketing and his show and what's going on in his life. So I remember then. And also you touched on Twitter then. I remember you posting about how events are very different now because of the fact that Twitter isn't the community it used to be.
Yes.
Has that impacted you and the Content Meetup? Did you find that Twitter was a great place for your community to engage, or is where are you guys hanging out now? Is it now all just LinkedIn?
Well, it's somewhat interesting in that we never, aside from the ongoing schedule of the actual meetups, I had suggestions from members to launch a community on Slack or some other area, and I never really took action on that. So I don't consider, we do have a group on LinkedIn, so I invite your listeners to find us. I think it's just Bay Area Content Marketing group on LinkedIn, and you can request to join. But it's like, it's not, to be honest, not a whole lot goes on there. So, so in that regard, we haven't really been affected by Twitter and other social networks because we never had a place to congregate otherwise. I think it's unlike content marketing world where Twitter was, in my opinion, a huge gathering area for that community. So I think it affected the conference and the community when Twitter went away. But they now, but they had already a Slack community, and that's really now become the place where everyone gathers in between conferences for CMI.
But I think what's lost is the amplification, isn't it? When you're running an event, it used to be that Twitter was part of your strategy because it helped people kind of attend, or helped if you couldn't make it to the event, you'd watch it on Twitter almost, you know. So that we've lost that, haven't we?
We have,
So I've gone off the rails a little bit there. We were talking about your speakers. One of the things that I really enjoyed when I was read your newsletter the other day, and we'll get back to, you can plug your newsletter and all that kind of stuff, Content Corner. And in the past, when you've come on the show, you've talked about the power of community. And in that particular newsletter, you mentioned a specific thing, which is that two people met in your meetup and created a company. An AI company, I believe, right? Well, they're all AI companies now, aren't they? But tell us about that and some of the other benefits you've seen from running this community.
Sure. So this was the 2020, the year one of the pandemic. And so it was kind of interesting. It was not sparked by an in-person meeting, meeting in person, which does often lead to some pretty magical things happening. But it was two people that met. I think one of them was a presenter. So she was well known because she presented to the group. And then another member, which was not to my knowledge, they connected separately, like after being on the same Zoom. And then so later in, I think it was still 2020 or maybe it was 2021, I saw on LinkedIn that they posted that they launched, it's actually a cybersecurity company.
Oh, wow.
And I noticed the two names are like, they are part of the meetup. So I messaged one of them, the woman who presented, and I said, did you happen to meet your co-founder through the meetup? And she said, yes. So wow. That is just so neat that we're able to facilitate connections that become really meaningful when you become co-founders of a company.
And we were chatting before I hit record about, it's like when you have a company or something, people meet and they get married, it's like you've made an actual impact on somebody's life. It must be really fascinating. So that's cool. And from your personal perspective, what have you learned from both running the meetup, being part of this community, and would you recommend people create these communities?
I would. I think I'm not sure if this is a learning or it's just my biggest reward is just seeing the magic that happens when you bring people together. So that what we just spoke about, I think I consider that magic, that two people launched a company and I had a role to play in like essentially kind of the role of the matchmaker. And there's just so many other things that I've seen I never really expected. All right. Like I never thought this might happen, but once I see them happen, it becomes so rewarding. Another example is we've had in-person meetups where visitors came from the other side of the globe. So we've had people come in person that were from Kazakhstan, which is in Eastern Asia, I think. Tokyo and Bangalore, India. And when I asked them, how did you find us? They said they were visiting San Francisco or the Bay Area. They knew about meetup.com. So they went to meetup.com and they plugged in like something to do with marketing, and our event showed up. So they just went and came to the event And it was just amazing. I would never have the occasion to meet someone from Kazakhstan visiting my city without Meetup. And, so I guess the learning is that when you bring people together, magic can happen. And if you're the type that might feel rewarded or have a good feeling in your heart for making that happen, I think you can easily discover this by doing meetups of your own. We've grown to a certain size, but I think if you start small, and even if it's not formalized, like if you just have some coffee gathering or cocktail hour, things like this can happen. It's often more likely to happen if you do it consistently. But I used it like you mentioned, that newsletter, I used an analogy for myself, which is that at meetups, I often think of people as two pieces of paper fluttering in the wind. So if you've ever watched paper flutter, it kind of can go random based on the wind current. And sometimes the papers just fly by each other or they don't even come close. But other times, let's use like the analogy, like two pieces of paper come together and they form together and they form a ball. So I think of myself as the wind. I'm the force that's allowing paper to fly, and sometimes they'll come together and sometimes they won't. But when they come together, it can be magical.
Yeah. And I imagine that the reach that you now have with the Zoom meeting and this international audience must have taken that to another level, right? So
that's right.
That's incredible. Yeah. So how can people get involved with the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup when they're not from the Bay Area?
Well, I think the two obvious ones are first, you can join. It's free to join. So you go to meetup.com, search for Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. You can join the group, and then you'll see the events coming up. So you can RSVP, and everything is free. You can RSVP to an upcoming event. The second is if you'd like to share your expertise with our group, we'd love to have you as a presenter. So I would search for my name on LinkedIn. Just like, if you wouldn't mind, just leave a personal note with some background so that I know it's not a random invite. We can talk about having you on as a presenter.
Cool. Well, I'll include all those links in the show notes, of course, so people can check the show notes, and they're obviously on rockstarcmo.com. And then when people spin the dial on the interwebs and they're looking for you, Dennis, you mentioned LinkedIn already.
Yep.
Is that the best place to find you?
There's actually we're talking about Twitter. So I was, I would say like a year ago, I tried out Blue Sky and Threads. And they were fun for a week, and then I just dropped off. But now I've rediscovered, so you can find me on Threads. And I'm starting to have remembrances of what it was like on Twitter. The phenomenon I'll use is that some person who's has got a small following says something amusing or entertaining, and that goes viral. So it's like this person has 50 followers and it's like 5,000 likes and reshares. And that used to happen on Twitter, where it was like the most random of things, but it was really interesting or funny, and it would take off. And I'm now starting to feel that, like, I see those things happening on Threads, and then I myself have posted a couple of random things, and it's gone viral. So it's like 2,000 likes. So it's like, feels like the Twitter of old.
Nice. Yeah, I can't seem to get that habit back that I used to have with Twitter. I've totally got the LinkedIn habit, haven't we all, right? But I can't seem to get. I love Blue Sky, and it was a friendly place, and discourse was nice. But again, I just can't seem to. So I need to get into that Threads thing, because the other thing is as you mentioned, Robert Rose, who's on the show, he's apparently posting all his political stuff on there. So he's kind of a bit of a grumpy dude on Threads. So I want to see that.
That's funny.
All right, mate. Well, it was a pleasure catching up with you, and thank you very much for being on the show. And we'll have to get you back. I've covered all the things about where people can find you. Oh yes, what about your newsletter? Where can people find that?
If you search for Content Corner newsletter on a search engine, you should find it. I think I haven't done anything specific to AEO, but I think if you ask an LLM about Content Corner newsletter, or he's certainly associated with my name, it will probably find a link to sign up for it.
Yeah, it's a fun newsletter. It's every Sunday, isn't it?
That's right. I was going to say, I used to do every other Friday, and then I had like a little hiatus in 2022 to 2025. But now I'm back religiously every Sunday. So
Yeah.
It's
nice.
pretty short. It's one thought, one marketing article, and one general interest article. That's it. Every Sunday.
Really nice. All right, fella. Well, I look forward to having you back on the show. It's lovely catching up with you.
Same here.
Enjoy. And of course, now you're not in the Bay Area, you're in Chicago. So
that's right.
It's a little chillier, but hopefully you're putting up with the weather at the moment. And I'll speak to you soon, mate.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dennis. Lovely chat. And I'll include a link to his newsletter and how you can get involved in the meetup in the newsletter. You may notice we have a bit of a Content Marketing Institute theme this week, as we are now off to the pub, the Rose Rockstar, our virtual bar for a blend of marketing and mixology with the chief troublemaker at Seven Bear, Robert Rose, for a chat about his recent series of posts for that same publication.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the bar.
Thank you very much, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Aside from the nonsense going on in my country right now, which I'm not even going to go down that road because it's so unsavory and awful that we would spend all day on that. But from a business perspective and from a weather perspective here in Southern California, things couldn't be better. It's
no.
Really, yeah.
No. So nobody's making a documentary about Robert Rose then?
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. I might sell more than one ticket though. That is definitely almost assuredly the case. Yeah.
Well, I'll buy that ticket. That's for sure. Sure.
Yeah, I think I could sell at least 2 tickets. At least for the premiere, you would think. For those of you who don't know in the audience, we are talking about the amazing Oscar-winning documentary of Melania Trump that is pretty much falling on its face at this point. Unsurprisingly, I think, to everyone.
Well, it's funny, a mutual friend we've got on Facebook, I don't really do much on Facebook these days, but I saw him comment that he wanted to go so he could see the empty theatre. And I thought the logic of that was very flawed. It's like, if we all go to see the empty theatre, the theatre won't be empty. You are traffic.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Well, what I had suggested to that guy is I said, go buy a ticket to another movie. And if you feel like you need to report in person for some fucking reason, then go do you, but go buy a ticket to another movie so that they don't get any revenue from it. Yeah. He was like, well, I'm going to use one of my frequent flyer sort of, points, and get a free ticket. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but they still get the revenue for that ticket. I mean, it's like the movie theater pays them instead of you. It's like, no, still buy a ticket to another movie, right? Buy something that you want to support, then go sneak in, channel your inner 11-year-old and go sneak in the theater.
Yeah, I couldn't really follow any of the logic going on there.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm with you on that.
You were very patient.
The UR traffic is it's the perfect analogy for that. Like, wait a minute, you want to do what? You want to go show how ridiculous it is by going?
And the other downside, of course, to buying a ticket and going is you have to watch the fucking movie.
Well, yeah. Talk about being totally a glutton for punishment, right? It's like oh, do you have a fetish or something? It's like
it's like reading a porn magazine for the articles.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm here for the empty seats. Really?
Yeah. Right. That's right.
Anyway, we got to have a drink first. Let's drink to that.
Yeah, we have a lovely cocktail. We have a variation on a dirty martini tonight.
Nice.
And what we're going to be talking about is something called the Rosy Martini. And it's served at it was invented at a bar in Brooklyn, New York. And I found this recipe and I was like, oh, I got to try this. This sounds lovely. And it's a little weird. So you basically start with your classic martini makings, but this time you add a little more vermouth than you might otherwise, right? So where normally it might be a 1-to-4 sort of ratio, this is a 2-to-1, right? So it's a little more dry vermouth than you would normally use in a martini, because it is going to be dirtier here. And then 3/4 of a teaspoon of, and I find that you can get this in the UK better than you can get it here, which are because I came to love these because my parents drank martinis and with cocktail onions, and so cocktail onions are just, I love them so much. And you just don't find them you find them here. They're buried in olives, right? You know, so in other words, you get olives with cocktail onions, but you don't have like bottles of cocktail onions here. So anyway, you get yourself some cocktail onion juice, basically just a little bit of a teaspoon or 3/4 of a teaspoon of the onion brine from that, and then put in a little bit of Gentian Amaro, if you can find such a thing. If you can't, it's not a big deal. But the Gentian Amaro adds a little bit of stuff to it, and then of course, you know, do your expression of a lemon twist over the glass, and whatever you do for your normal cocktail, and then of course a cocktail onion right down there in the bottom of the glass, and it's just fantastic. It's like it's a dirty martini for sure, but it's just a fantastic dirty martini.
Nice. And is that are you ginning or vodkaing on this one?
What's that now?
Are you ginning or vodkaing on this one?
Oh, no. You're doing gin. Yeah. No, gin. This is proper martini gin.
Good. For sure. Because I know sometimes it's very nice. So that sounds splendid. I think I regaled you a tale when I actually made a very dirty martini because I put an olive in it that had an anchovy inside. So I had these stuffed anchovies.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That was exceptionally dirty.
Yeah, I can't abide the anchovy olives, nor can I abide really the blue cheese olives. I don't like.
Oh
those.
No.
My wife loves those, but I don't like the blue cheese olives.
No, I don't like the blue cheese olives or
a garlic stuffed olive. A garlic stuffed olive is often nice.
Yeah. No, we because we like a bit of Spain, so the anchovy stuffed olives we enjoy from there. They love their anchovies.
Well, sure. I mean, you're British, so you have anchovies with everything. I mean, it's like you have anchovies with your morning toast, right? It's like
maybe a bit.
Yeah. Maybe.
All right. Well, let's move off from our English culinary foibles.
Yes.
Apart from drinking lots of lovely gin and vermouth. So my question for you in the bar today is, and again, I'm going to be promoting your work on the Content Marketing Institute blog, the rose-coloured glasses series that you do. And also, particularly, you've just done a 3-part series about AI, and we discussed the first part, I think, a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about railways, which was fun. But in this particular article, it's the closure of that series of 3 now, isn't it, this week? I think, right, from your perspective, or is there more to come? Yeah, I thought so. So in this article, you're talking about how we're kind of wringing our hands about AI making mistakes and hallucinating, but of course humans make mistakes as well. And the difference with the machines is unregulated, they can act instantly and at scale before the error is caught. So as we've always talked about AI or any kind of marketing technology, it just allows you to fuck up at scale. But you have a solution for that, and you called it the authority ladder, which I thought was really interesting. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it gets to a question that I started asking, about forget mistakes for a second. One of the things I started asking was, when we think about running an agentic AI, across a marketing campaign, and you sort of, you buy into the vision of, you press the go button and the agentic AI goes out and finds the right persona, then develops the right message and automatically sends the message and automatically then looks at it and optimizes the message for the conversion and then sends a reply to that message. And, it basically runs the whole campaign autonomously. And instead of making a mistake, one of the questions I asked was like, well, what if it succeeds wildly? Like, what if it really like wins the day? Who gets the credit? Like,
oh yeah.
Who actually gets? Is it marketing? Is it the marketing person that hired the vendor that does the agent?
Yeah.
No, almost certainly not. Is it the one who gave it the rules? No, probably not, because that's just the rules that it generally would follow it. But it's making stuff up on its own. It's making the content up on its own. Well, is it the training data that it used to actually get the content and all of that? Is the person who created it? No, it's probably not that person. So who is it that gets? There's the who is at fault when there's a mistake, because that's the one we sort of immediately leap to. But it's like, who wins, right?
Yeah.
And so that got me thinking about the real challenge and sort of stepping stone of an agentic AI idea in marketing is, what is it allowed to do and when is it allowed to do it? And a human has to make that decision. It's just inherent. You have to make that decision, because left otherwise, then no one's making a decision and no one gets the credit, no one gets the blame. So in other words, if it completely falls on its face, well, then there's no blame either. There's no fixing the problem, because nobody actually made the decision to do the thing. And so it's the decision by nobody that is actually the real problem. And so you start asking yourself, okay, let's build. And the idea of an authority ladder is certainly not new. That's been around for a long time, right? And there are many models out there that talk about building an authority ladder. So I said, well, let's build an authority ladder more like a choice about the agentic AI use cases, right? So, and I came up with, some basic ladders that aren't to be mistaken for any kind of maturity model or sort of goal. In other words, our goal isn't to get to where you delegate all authority to, a particular agentic AI or any AI, but the goal is to make the right decision per use case and per application. So it may exist at different levels of the authority ladder in varying degree at the same time. And so it's really less about trying to evolve to the fourth rung or whatever it is, but more about making conscious decisions about when we apply agentic AI, because we will at some point make this choice with the tools that we're using, making the conscious decision about developing the workflow and the authority and the conscious choice about what we are actually delegating, so that there is a clear line of responsibility for what it is we're actually doing. And the inherent assumption in that, and this is the big sort of aha, if you will, is that we actually understand that now for humans, right? In other words, that we actually understand that line of authority for our humans, because what I find is that in most organizations, when it comes to marketing and content, they don't. There is no decision at the authority ladder that exists in the humans, much less one for agentic AI.
Yeah. The difference there, though, isn't it, is that there is a bunch of, we were sort of talking about this about politics before I hit record, and let's not go down that road again, but there's a set of kind of unwritten rules or, common sense or whatever that the human has that one cannot bestow upon an AI agent. It will go, well, this is the best course of action for me to do. This seems to be for me. I'm going to do it more. And then, but a human might go, actually, this makes me or the company or whatever look a bit like a cock. I don't want to do that. Yeah. But this is really performing, Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it assumes that we understand, because whenever you make, if you look at sort of the higher rungs of the authority ladder, it starts to say, okay, it can do this, it can't do this, it does this in a sandbox, it does this with rules, et cetera, which all assume that those things have been predetermined, right?
Yeah.
In other words, you have to, you like giving instructions to anyone. When you give instructions to an intern or a junior level employee or even a senior level employee, there are instructions on how to make soup. And how clear you are about how to make soup depends on the value of the soup that you're going to get. So it assumes that you've actually done the work to assume what the rules are. Instead, the promise that we keep getting promised from all of these agentic AI purveyors, the tool companies, is, oh no, you just turn it on and it goes, right? No, it doesn't. That's like saying install, and you and I know this better than most. It's like it's the same promise that we used to get with content management systems. Oh, just install the content management system and everything works itself out.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't. You actually make more work for yourself by implementing a content management system, because you actually have to come up with the rules that are going to apply to the workflow. So you actually have to do the work to do the work. And the same is going to apply to agentic AI as well. You're actually going to have to do the work to do the work. And guess what? You're probably not the most skilled person to actually do that work, because most marketing practitioners are not that good at construction of workflow.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking as you were talking about this stuff, right? Is because 20 odd years ago when I was in pre-sales doing this stuff, and I think I've shared this before, is I'd do a great demo of the most amazing workflow process, and then somebody would say, "Can we turn that shit off?" Because nobody wants to design a workflow. Nobody wants to design a process. Well, there is one person. There's Kathy McKnight, who works with you. But I think that for most part, people are adverse to process. And so, especially in marketing, as you say, and the problem with this is if you don't, the consequences are going to be quite harsh, aren't they?
Yeah. I think you can already start to see it in the failures, right? I mean, all the research that's coming out now, ever increasingly, some of them have flaws in the methodology, and some of them have flaws in the data, and some of them are more personal anecdote than they are truly research. But basically, directionally, they're all saying the same thing, which is businesses, enterprises are really struggling to get value out of AI, full stop, at a collaborative enterprise level. And a lot of that is what I cover in one of the other parts, which is that expectations setting between what leadership expects versus what the practitioners are finding, which is actually, there is value there, but it's going to be harder. It's going to require more people and actually more effort to extract that value, which is not what leadership wants to hear right now, and is not the narrative that is being painted in the media. But foregoing that for just a moment and getting into what's actually delivering the value, when you start to get into it, it's like, if you don't do this, you almost assuredly will continue to struggle, as you would with any technology. It basically, we used to run into this all the time with in the early days of let's call it SEO, right? So in the early days of SEO for content management systems, one of the things, and this goes back to 2007, 2008, 2006, that time frame. And it was, okay, we're going to do an SEO audit of our 15,000 page website. And you go, okay, fantastic. And they pay an agency a big bucket of money to go do a deep dive SEO audit. With the to-do list that comes back that says metadata this, tagging here, all the different things that you would need to do, that list of 27 items that you need to do is going to take you the rest of your lifetime to accomplish, right? In other words, you're going to spend so much time and effort retrofitting your website, even though you do have a CMS to do it. But coming up with the tagging structure, coming up with the ability to go in and tag each page manually, or actually do all those things that you have to do to fix your H1 tags, or all your cross-linking and where they should cross-link, and figuring out the right keyword density and all those things. Those are all great suggestions, but the level of effort to actually go back and retrofit your ability to do that on your content far outweighs the value that you're going to get out of it. And so it's going to be the same thing here, where it's like, where we start with agentic AI is going to be like, the promise of it is going to be fantastic, but the level of retrofitting that we're going to have to do for our content creation and collaboration process may end up being so astronomically high that it's like going to totally outweigh any efficiency we might actually get.
So building this authority ladder, putting all of those guardrails in place, deciding on what all the rules are, and all that. By then, you might as well have just done it your fucking self. Is that what you're saying?
What it starts to expose, what it starts to expose, this in combination with the thing that I talked about in the previous episode of my series, where I said, the idea is to understand the 4 quadrants of value, right? What each use case of business value could be, which exposes basically the gap in your understood workflow where it's going to provide the most value. If you underscore, the authority ladder assumes you've done that work, right?
Yeah.
In other words, you've gone through and you've looked at your use cases and your workflow, and you know what those things are, and you can identify the gaps where AI might be helpful, and especially where agentic AI might be helpful. Better value, deeper value, more efficiency, whatever that value is. Now we can apply the authority ladder. Basically, what is the AI allowed to do and not allowed to do? What is reserved for humans and human discernment and taste and decisions versus what we're going to allow the AI to autonomously do to generate that value. And it becomes the next, because that value that we're trying to extract may or may not be better served by a human or by an AI, but we won't know until we actually do the work of architecting it.
That's really interesting. And the other, and kind of related to this, I was listening to a Forrester podcast the other day that was talking about the changes in the labor market brought on by AI, and the company, and their analysis is that companies have been laying people off because under the false flag of AI is going to change everything, but they haven't got this capability, as you're saying, of having these agentic AI machines move in and do those roles that have been replaced. So people aren't doing the work, right? They're just saying, well, there's an efficiency saving here somewhere. Let's get rid of the people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Or they're doing exactly what the purveyors are suggesting, and they just do it, right? In other words, they build a system that, they build these ridiculous use cases for tasks that the AI can do. In other words, they look at what the technology can do, and then they just have it do that without ever wondering if it's a productive thing to do at all, right? And and the classic use case that I use for an example of that is, I still get this pitch to me, which is, you can now have agentic AI attend a meeting, take the notes from the meeting, send you those notes and action items in an email after the meeting happens. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the most ridiculous use case ever, because if the meeting is so if the meeting is so stupidly, not valuable that I don't need to be there, then why are we even having? I mean, it's literally the personification of this meeting could have been an email.
Absolutely.
And so why do I even need a meeting to begin with? Right? It's we've got to quickly get out of this idea of just because the AI can, it should.
But I mean, we've got such a track record with that. I mean, you could almost say that digital marketing, the practice of digital marketing, was built by what the marketing technology tools could do.
Yes, exactly. It happens all the time. We've been doing this for 26 years since digital marketing. This thing can do personalization and actually personalize an email by doing a Mad Libs replace of the first name and your hello, Ian. You last visited our website on September 8th. And it's like, what? But was there any value in that at all? No, it's stupid.
All right, mate. Where can people find stuff that has value, is definitely not stupid, if they want to learn more about this stuff?
If they want to read the rose-colored glasses stuff, I would point them to Content Marketing Institute, which is where that happens every week. But
yes,
I would also point to my YouTube channel, which is growing a little bit these days, because I put all my videos of those blog posts up on my YouTube channel. So eventually by the end of the month here, all 4 parts of the AI one will be up. And then next month, I'm going to be taking on brand strategy in 2026. So I point to my YouTube channel, which if you could just, it's at my YouTube handle is at the Robert Rose is my YouTube handle.
Nice. And I need to do video, mate. I really do need to do video. This podcast is not video. I don't do any video at the moment, so I really need to do video as well. So I should be inspired by that. And the other thing is, when you do go to the CMI blog, as I've mentioned before, you can get it in text form. You can get you reading it out. Well, it isn't really you, but you know what I mean. And you can see a video of it. It's excellent, isn't it? You really rinse that content. So any way you want it, you can get it.
Yeah, that's right. It's any way you want it. You can listen to it. You can watch it. You can read it. However you want.
Splendid. So when people do spin the dial on the interwebs and they want it anyway, where are they going to find you?
They'll find me mostly on LinkedIn. And if you want to hear me bitch about my country, you can get me on Threads.
Splendid. And most importantly, for me, will you be in the bar next week?
Of course I will. Yeah.
I'll see you then, my friend. Thank you, Robert. Food for thought there about how we manage our soulless AI agents that have no common sense, and how much time we need to invest in thinking through the implications and the rules, as there is plenty of opportunity here to screw up at scale. So that's a wrap on episode 307, the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. I hope you like the new, or should I say old, format with a longer weekly show. And thank you for putting a dime into your podcasting jukebox, selecting our track and jiving along with us. I've been your host, Ian Truscott. You can find links to me and my chums and the articles we discussed in the show notes, along with links to our blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes at rockstarcmo.com. Next week, Jeff is back from holiday and we'll be chatting through one of our 5 fundamentals and 5 potential fails. And as you heard, Robert is back in the bar. In the meantime, on the topic of community, as Snoop Dogg once said, we give back to the people who made us who we are.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.